At 9:14 a.m. on January 11, 1944, Staff Sergeant Alan Magee was curled inside the ball turret of a B-17 Flying Fortress at 23,000 feet over Oschersleben, Germany, doing something his instructors had explicitly said would get him killed. His turret was pointed 40 degrees to the right, his guns were aimed at empty sky, and 37 Focke-Wulf 190s were screaming toward his bomber formation from 2 o'clock high. The temperature inside the plexiglass sphere was 30 degrees below zero. Magee's breath fogged his gun sight. His fingers, even through heated gloves, were going numb on the trigger grips. He could see the lead FW-190 pilot's canopy, reflecting morning sun. The German fighter was 200 yards out, closing at 450 miles per hour combined speed. Magee didn't move his turret to track the target. He didn't follow the dot and pipper technique drilled into him through 40 hours of gunnery school. He just waited. Turret fixed, gun silent. The FW-190 dove closer. 800 yards, 600 yards. His entire crew was watching what happened next on the radios, because in the next 127 seconds, Magee was going to break every rule in the manual and rewrite how bomber gunners fought. Alan Magee was 21 years old, farm equipment mechanic from Plainfield, New Jersey. Joined the Army Air Forces in April 1943 because his older brother was already flying B-24s in North Africa. Magee wanted to be a pilot. His eyesight wasn't good enough. They made him a gunner instead. He trained at Kingman Army Airfield in Arizona. 6 weeks of aircraft recognition, 4 weeks of .50 caliber operation, 2 weeks specifically on the Sperry ball turret. The instructors were clear about one thing. The ball turret was the most important defensive position on a B-17. It covered the entire belly of the aircraft, no blind spots underneath. Perfect field of fire for stopping diving attacks from below. Magee arrived at RAF Bassingbourn in November 1943, assigned to the 91st Bomb Group, 324th Squadron. B-17G serial number 42s and 31367, nicknamed Maiden America. He flew his first mission on November 26th. Targeted Bremen. He didn't fire a single shot. The fighter escort kept the Luftwaffe away. His second mission was different. December 1st, Solingen. 6 FW-190s hit the formation. Magee fired 340 rounds. Watched his tracers arc past 3 different fighters. Didn't hit anything. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely keep the reticle steady. After that mission, his pilot, Captain Raymond Hughes, asked him what was wrong. Magee told him the truth. By the time I get the turret turned and aimed, the bastards are already gone. Hughes nodded, said it was normal, said everyone struggled at first, said it would get easier with practice, but Magee had already flown 8 missions by January 10th. He still had 0 kills, and he'd watched 2 other ball turret gunners die learning the same lesson he was. The B-17 had the best defensive firepower of any bomber in the war. 10 .50 caliber machine guns, interlocking fields of fire, overlapping coverage. In theory, a tight formation of B-17s was nearly impossible to attack. In practice, by late 1943, the Luftwaffe had figured out the weak points, and the ball turret was becoming a death trap. Corporal Danny Weiss died on December 11th, 1943. Ball turret gunner on Lucky Strike, flying in the slot position 2 planes behind Magee's bomber. Target was Emden. Weiss was 19 years old. Brooklyn, New York. Italian kid who talked constantly about his mother's cooking. The fighter attack came at 1:22 p.m. 4 FW-190s dove from 4 o'clock high, rolled inverted, came straight down through the formation. Weiss tracked the lead fighter, fired a long burst. The FW-190 pilot didn't flinch, just kept diving, rolled out 200 feet below the formation, came up from directly underneath. Weiss tried to rotate his turret to follow. The Sperry ball turret traverse rate was 24 degrees per second. Fast for 1943. Not fast enough for an FW-190 pulling 7 Gs in a vertical reversal. The German pilot fired a 3-second burst from 150 yards. 20mm cannon shells hit the ball turret dead center. The plexiglass sphere shattered. Weiss died instantly. The turret, with Weiss still inside, separated from the aircraft. Magee watched it fall, tumbling, glinting in the sun. It took 38 seconds to hit the ground. Nobody talked about Weiss on the flight back. In the debriefing, the intelligence officer wrote, KIA, ball turret. Captain Hughes put his hand on Magee's shoulder afterward. Said, "Don't think about it, just do your job." Magee nodded. But he was thinking about it. He thought about it every night. Sergeant Thomas "Tommy" Harrell died on December 20th, 1943. Ball turret gunner on Hell's Bell. Target was Frankfurt. Harrell was 23. Montana ranch kid. Quiet, calm. 3 confirmed kills. Everybody said he was the best ball turret gunner in the squadron. The attack happened at 1:47 p.m. 8 FW-190s, coordinated assault from 12 o'clock level. They came in pairs. 1 high, 1 low. The high fighter drew defensive fire. The low fighter attacked the ball turret. Standard Luftwaffe tactic by December 1943. Harrell saw it coming. Called it out on intercom. Low attack, 12 o'clock, engaging. He tracked the FW-190 perfectly. Smooth traverse, textbook lead. Fired exactly as trained. Hit the fighter's left wing. Saw pieces fly off. But the FW-190 didn't break off. The pilot held his dive. Fired back. 4 20mm cannons. The Germans' rounds hit first. Heavier caliber. Longer range. Harrell's turret exploded in a spray of hydraulic fluid and aluminum fragments. Hell's Bell made it back to England. They buried what was left of Tommy Harrell in Cambridge. After that mission, Magee stopped sleeping. He'd lie in his bunk staring at the curved metal ceiling of the Nissen hut, doing math, calculating angles, traverse rates, closure speeds. There had to be a better way. The training manual said, track the target, lead the target, fire when the reticle settled. But by the time the reticle settled, you were already dead. The manual was wrong. The Focke-Wulf 190 had changed everything. Before 1943, the Luftwaffe's main fighter was the Messerschmitt Bf 109, lighter, more maneuverable. But the 109 had 2 rifle-caliber machine guns and 1 20mm cannon. Limited ammunition. Pilots had to get close, hold the trigger longer. That gave ball turret gunners time to track them, time to aim, time to fire. The FW-190 was different. 4 20mm cannons, 2 13mm machine guns, radial engine that could take tremendous punishment, and tactics specifically designed to exploit the B-17's one weakness. The ball turret's traverse speed. German fighter pilots had figured out the math. The Sperry ball turret could rotate 24 degrees per second horizontally, 30 degrees per second vertically. Fast enough to track a target flying straight. Not fast enough to track a target maneuvering hard. Especially not a target pulling high G reversals. So the FW-190 pilots developed a technique. Dive from high altitude. Build speed to 450 mph. Roll inverted. Blow through the formation. Pull 6 or 7 Gs in a climbing reversal. Attack from below. Fire from 200 yards. Break away before the turret could rotate. The entire attack lasted 3 to 4 seconds. The ball turret gunner had maybe 1 second to fire. Maybe. Most didn't get a shot off at all. They just died trying to rotate fast enough. By January 1944, this tactic was killing ball turret gunners at an unsustainable rate. 8th Air Force statistics showed ball turret gunners had the highest casualty rate of any crew position. Higher than tail gunners. Higher than waist gunners. In December 1943 alone, 94 ball turret gunners were killed over Germany. The problem was obvious. The solution seemed obvious too. Speed up the turret traverse rate, install more powerful motors, faster hydraulic pumps, better gearing. But Sperry Manufacturing said the turret was operating within specifications. The Army Air Forces said modifications would void the warranty. Engineering tests would take 6 months. Authorization for field modifications would take another 6 months. Meanwhile, men were dying every single day, and commanders were running out of trained ball turret gunners. Some B-17s flew missions with the ball turret empty. No gunner, just locked in the retracted position. That left the entire belly of the aircraft undefended. German pilots noticed, started attacking from below even more aggressively. Magee knew all of this. He'd talked to other ball turret gunners, compared notes. Everyone had the same problem. By the time you got the turret rotated and aimed, the FW-190 was gone. Or you were dead. There was no middle ground. The training manual's solution was improve tracking discipline, fire shorter bursts, conserve ammunition, wait for better shot opportunities. That advice was written by people who'd never been in a ball turret, never felt the sickening lurch as an FW-190 rolled under your aircraft at 400 mph. Never tried to rotate a 2-ton turret fast enough to catch a target pulling 7 Gs. Magee had a different idea. He'd been thinking about it since Tommy Harrell died. The problem wasn't the turret's speed. The problem was trying to catch the target. You couldn't catch an FW-190 in a hard maneuver. The traverse rate was too slow, the lag was too long. But what if you didn't try to catch them? What if you were already waiting where they were going to be? Sergeant Michael Kowalski proved Magee's theory on January 5, 1944. Target was Kiel. Kowalski was 22, Chicago, Polish kid, 4 missions, 0 kills. He was flying ball turret on Princess Pat, 2 planes ahead of Magee in the formation. The fighter attack started at 2:03 p.m., 12 FW-190s from 2 o'clock high, textbook dive, roll inverted, blow through, pull up hard, attack from below. Kowalski saw them coming, called it out. Fighters, 2 o'clock high, diving. He rotated his turret to 2 o'clock, started tracking the lead FW-190. The fighter dove past his nose. Kowalski followed it. Smooth traverse, perfect technique. Exactly what the manual said. The FW-190 passed directly underneath the formation. Kowalski kept tracking. Turret rotating. Hydraulics whining. That's when the fighter pulled up. Hard. 7 Gs. Vertical climb. Reversing course. Coming back up from directly below. Kowalski tried to follow the reversal. Rotated the turret hard left. The traverse motor was at maximum speed. 24 degrees per second. Not enough. The FW-190 pilot had done this 100 times. He knew exactly where the B-17 would be. Knew exactly where the ball turret would be. Knew the gunner would be trying to catch him in the turn. He fired before Kowalski's guns could come to bear. 20 20mm rounds hit the ball turret in 1.4 seconds. The plexiglass shattered. The armor plate bent inward. 3 rounds hit Kowalski's chest. 2 hit his left arm. The turret's hydraulic lines ruptured. Fluid sprayed everywhere. Mixed with blood. The turret seized. Stuck at 43 degrees left, 18 degrees down. Princess Pat stayed in formation for another 40 minutes. Kowalski was alive for the first 12 minutes. The crew could hear him on the intercom, gasping, trying to breathe. The pilot asked if he could rotate the turret manually. Get Kowalski out. The answer was no. The turret was jammed. Kowalski died at 2:15 p.m., still trapped inside. The crew flew home with his body in the turret. Magee watched the whole thing. His B-17 was 300 feet away. He saw the FW-190 dive, saw Kowalski track it, saw the fighter pull up, saw the turret trying to follow, saw the muzzle flashes, saw the plexiglass explode. And he saw something else. Something the intelligence officers didn't see in the debriefing. Something the training manuals never mentioned. The FW-190 pilot had pulled up into exactly the same position every other FW-190 pilot pulled into. Same angle, same altitude, same attack geometry. It wasn't random, it was predictable. The Germans were using a standardized tactic. Dive, roll, pass, pull up, attack from below, break away. Every pilot did it the same way, because it worked. Because ball turret gunners couldn't rotate fast enough to catch them. But what if you didn't try to catch them? What if you aimed where they were going to be before they got there? That night, Magee sat in the equipment hut with a piece of paper and a pencil. Drew diagrams, calculated angles, FW-190 diving at 450 mph, passing underneath at 200 feet separation, pulling 7 Gs in a climbing reversal. Radius of turn, approximately 800 feet. Time to complete reversal, approximately 4 seconds. Position at top of reversal, 40 degrees left of initial track, 15 degrees up. If you rotated your turret to that position before the fighter started the reversal, if you just waited there. Guns pointed at empty sky, The target would fly directly into your line of fire. You wouldn't be chasing them. They'd be coming to you. The statistics backed it up. In the last 6 weeks, the 91st Bomb Group had lost 11 ball turret gunners, all killed during fighter reversals. 0 FW-190s destroyed by ball turret gunners during those same attacks. The current tactic had a 0% success rate and a 100% mortality rate. Magee's idea couldn't possibly be worse. And it might actually work, but it violated every principle of gunnery training. His instructors would call it suicide. His commanding officer might court-martial him for deliberately disobeying doctrine. He decided to try it anyway, because on January 11th, his crew was scheduled to fly again, and if he kept doing what he'd been doing, he'd end up just like Weiss, just like Harrell, just like Kowalski. January 10th, 1944, 1900 hours. Mission briefing for the next day's raid. Target, Oschersleben, deep into Germany. Aircraft factories. Expected heavy fighter resistance. Every crew in the briefing room knew what heavy resistance meant. Losses. After the briefing, Captain Hughes pulled Magee aside. They stood outside the operations building. Cold night. Stars visible between broken clouds. Hughes lit a cigarette. Offered one to Magee. Magee didn't smoke. Hughes looked at him for a long moment. "You doing okay, Red?" Hughes asked. The crew called Magee Red because of his hair. Reddish-brown, Irish ancestry. "Yes, sir," Magee said. "Kowalski was a friend of yours." "Yes, sir." Hughes took a drag, exhaled slowly. "I've been flying bombers for 14 months. Lost 6 ball turret gunners. You know what's different about you?" "What's that, sir?" "You're still alive." Hughes dropped the cigarette, ground it out with his boot. "Tomorrow's going to be bad. Intelligence says 300 fighters along the route. You're going to see action. A lot of it. Whatever you do down there, make sure you come back. I don't want to break in a 7th gunner." Magee nodded. Hughes walked away. Magee stood there for another 10 minutes, thinking. The captain had given him permission, not explicitly, but permission nonetheless. Whatever you do down there, that was code. That meant do what you have to do to survive. The regulation answer was follow the manual, track the target, lead the target, fire when settled. But that answer got you killed. Magee had watched it happen 3 times. 3 good men, 3 perfect techniques, 3 body bags. He made his decision. Tomorrow, he was going to try something different. Forget tracking. Forget following. He'd calculate where the fighter would be. Point his guns there. Wait. Let the target come to him. It would either work or it wouldn't. But at least he'd die trying something new. January 11th, 1944, 0600 hours. Magee woke up before the CQ came through. Couldn't sleep anyway. Got dressed. Walked to the mess hall. Forced down powdered eggs and toast, coffee, 2 cups, bitter and lukewarm. At 0645, the crews gathered at the hard stands, 15 B-17s from the 324th Squadron. Magee's bomber, Made in America, was parked at hard stand 7. He did his pre-flight inspection, checked the ball turret, rotated it manually through full traverse, checked the ammunition cans. 500 rounds per gun, 1,000 rounds total. Checked the gun sight, aligned, checked the intercom connection. The rest of the crew arrived. 10 men total. Pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, flight engineer, radio operator, 2 waist gunners, tail gunner, and Magee. They'd flown 23 missions together. Lost 2 engines over Bremen. Took flak damage over Hamburg. Landed with hydraulic failure at Bassingbourn. They were a good crew. Trusted each other. Hughes climbed into the cockpit at 0730. Engines started at 0740. The Wright R-1820 Cyclones coughed blue smoke. Settled into a rhythmic roar. Magee climbed into the ball turret at 0745. The crew chief helped him strap in, plugged in his heated suit, checked his oxygen mask, closed the turret hatch. Inside the turret, Magee was completely alone. Curved plexiglass, 250 caliber machine guns, reflector gun sight, foot pedals to rotate, hand grips to elevate, trigger buttons under his thumbs. It was cramped, uncomfortable, claustrophobic. You couldn't stand, couldn't stretch, couldn't escape. If the aircraft went down, you had maybe 10 seconds to hand crank the turret to the exit position. Climb out, grab your parachute, jump. Most ball turret gunners didn't make it. Magee pushed that thought away, focused on the plan. FW-190s would attack. They'd dive from high, pass underneath, pull up hard, standard reversal. He'd calculate the reversal arc, pre-position his turret, wait, fire when the target entered his cone. Simple, insane, but simple. At Aero 802, Made in America taxied to the runway. 11 other B-17s followed. The tower gave clearance. Hughes advanced the throttles. The bomber accelerated, tail lifted. At 105, the nose came up. They were airborne. Magee retracted the ball turret, felt the hydraulics pull him up into the belly of the aircraft, felt the landing gear lock. The turret rotated to neutral. Guns pointed straight down. He took a breath, checked his oxygen flow. 23,000 feet altitude coming up, temperature dropping. He flexed his fingers, felt the trigger buttons. Today was the day. Either this worked or he died. No third option. He was okay with that. Better to die trying something than die doing nothing. 0914 hours. Made in America was flying in the low squadron. Middle position, 23,000 feet over Oschersleben. The target was still 12 minutes away. Scattered clouds below. Contrails streaming from 180 B-17s ahead and behind. The formation stretched for miles. Magee scanned the sky. Left, right, up, down. The plexiglass offered perfect visibility. He could see everything. Friendly fighters, P-47 Thunderbolts, weaving above the formation. 30 of them. Not enough. Never enough this deep into Germany. At 0916, the radio operator's voice crackled on the intercom. "Bandits, 2 o'clock high. Looks like 30 plus. Magee rotated his turret, looked up and right, saw them. Black dots, high altitude, diving, getting bigger. He counted. 37. Focke-Wulf 190s, painted gray and green, yellow nose markings, Jagdgeschwader 1, elite unit, experienced pilots. "Here they come," Hughes said. His voice was calm, always calm. "Everyone stay sharp." The FW-190s split into 2 groups. One group went for the high squadron. The other group, 19 fighters, dove straight toward Magee's squadron. The lead fighter was 2,000 yards out, diving at 45 degrees. Speed building, 380 mmi-chak, 400, 420. Magee made his calculations, fast, instinctive. Fighter diving from 2 o'clock, would pass underneath, would pull up to 11 o'clock. Reversal arc, 4 seconds. Exit position approximately 40 degrees left, 12 degrees up. He rotated his turret, smooth, deliberate, pointed his guns at empty sky, 40 degrees left, 12 degrees up, settled the reticle on nothing. The lead FW-190 screamed past, 200 feet below, so close Magee could see the pilot's helmet, could see the exhaust stacks glowing orange. The fighter's slipstream rocked the B-17. Magee didn't move his turret, didn't track it, just waited. The FW-190 pilot pulled, hard. The fighter's nose came up, wings flexing under 7 Gs, climbing vertical, reversing, rolling left, coming back toward the formation from below, exactly as Magee predicted. The fighter's flight path curved, arc of a circle, predictable, perfect. The FW-190 flew directly into Magee's gun sight. Magee pressed both triggers. The twin .50 calibers roared, 50 rounds per second, tracers arcing out. Every 5th round was a tracer, looked like a solid bar of light. The rounds hit the FW-190's engine cowling. Metal sparked. The cowling peeled back. Coolant sprayed. White smoke poured from the fighter. The FW-190 pilot tried to roll away. Too late. Magee held the triggers. 2-second burst. 100 rounds. The fighter's canopy shattered. The left wing separated. The FW-190 tumbled. Nose over tail. Broke apart. No parachute. The wreckage fell. Burning. Magee's first kill. 8 missions. Finally. But there was no time to think about it. The second FW-190 was already pulling up. Same dive, same pass, same reversal. Magee had already calculated this one too. He rotated his turret. 38 degrees left, 14 degrees up, settled, waited. 3 seconds. The FW-190 arced into his sights. He fired. 1 second burst. 50 rounds. Hit the fighter's right wing root. Fuel tank exploded. Orange fireball. The wing folded. The FW-190 spun. Fell. 2 down. 17 to go. The third FW-190 pilot saw what happened. Tried to adjust. Rolled out of the reversal early. Dove away instead of pulling up. Magee didn't have a shot, but the tail gunner did. Sergeant Ed Callahan, Wisconsin kid, calm and steady. He fired a 4-second burst. Hit the FW-190's tail. The fighter went into an uncontrolled spin. 3 FW-190s down in 40 seconds. The German formation scattered. Broke attack. That wasn't supposed to happen. B-17 gunners didn't break fighter attacks. They defended, survived, hoped the fighters ran out of ammunition. But they didn't kill 3 fighters in 40 seconds. The remaining FW-190s regrouped. 1,500 yards out. Magee watched them. Counted. 16 still flying. They were talking on the radio, figuring out what went wrong, trying to decide what to do next. Their training said, hit the bombers, press the attack, ignore losses. But 3 fighters down meant something was different. The Germans decided to try again. 8 FW-190s, coordinated attack, 4 from 3 o'clock, 4 from 9 o'clock, simultaneous, overwhelm the defenses. Standard Luftwaffe tactic when the first pass failed. Magee rotated his turret right. 3 o'clock attack first, 4 fighters diving. He picked the leader, calculated the arc, 50 degrees right, 8 degrees up, rotated, settled, waited. The FW-190 dove past, pulled up, flew into Magee's cone of fire. He pressed the triggers. 1.5 seconds, 75 rounds. The fighter's cockpit disintegrated. The canopy flew off. The pilot slumped. The FW-190 nosed over. Dove straight down. 3 kills. The second fighter in the formation saw his leader die. Tried to break left. Magee tracked him. Short burst. 30 rounds. Hit the fighter's left aileron. The aileron tore off. The FW-190 rolled inverted. Couldn't recover. Spun in. 4 kills. The third and fourth FW-190s broke off. Dove away. Didn't complete their attacks. Magee rotated left. 9 o'clock attack. 2 fighters still coming. They'd seen what happened to the 3 o'clock group. They were adjusting, coming in shallower, faster, trying to get through the kill zone before Magee could fire. The lead fighter passed underneath. Magee calculated, adjusted for the shallower dive. 35 degrees left, 10 degrees up, rotated. The fighter pulled up, not as hard, 5 Gs instead of 7, wider arc. Magee adjusted again, 32 degrees left, 8 degrees up. The FW-190 entered his cone. He fired. 3-second burst, 150 rounds. Overkill. The fighter came apart. Engine separated. Fuselage broke in half. The pilot ejected. Parachute opened. 5 kills. The last FW-190 from the 9 o'clock attack saw everything. Broke off before completing the pass. Dove straight down. Full power. Running. Magee didn't have a shot. The fighter disappeared into the clouds below. Magee checked his ammunition. 350 rounds remaining. Not enough for sustained combat. But the FW-190s were reforming again. 1,000 yards out. 11 fighters left. They were talking again. Radio chatter. German voices. Magee couldn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. Confusion. Anger. Fear. They attacked again. Desperate now. 6 fighters, all from 12 o'clock level, head-on attack, trying to avoid the ball turret entirely. Smart. But the nose gunner, Lieutenant Paul Renner, was ready. He hit 2 fighters before they reached firing range. 1 crashed, 1 broke off trailing smoke. The remaining 4 FW-190s pressed the attack, flew through the formation, fired their cannons, hit Made in America's right wing. 20mm shells punched holes in the aluminum. Didn't hit anything critical. The fighters blew past, standard reversal coming. Magee calculated. All four would pull up, staggered, 2 seconds apart. He positioned for the first one. 42 degrees left, 14 degrees up. Waited. The FW-190 pulled up, entered his cone. He fired. 2 seconds, 100 rounds. The fighter's tail exploded. Control surfaces gone. The FW-190 tumbled. 6 kills. Second fighter, repositioned. 38 degrees left. 16 degrees up. The fighter pulled up. He fired. 80 rounds. Hit the engine. Oil sprayed. Black smoke. The fighter rolled away. Losing altitude. Magee tracked it. Final burst. 40 rounds. The fighter's wing caught fire. Went down. 7 kills. Third fighter. Magee's hands were moving automatically now. Muscle memory. Calculate. Rotate. Settle. Wait. Fire. The FW-190 pulled up right into his gun sight. Perfect geometry. He pressed the triggers. Nothing happened. Empty. Both guns. Out of ammunition. 1,000 rounds fired. 120 seconds of combat. The FW-190 pilot saw the tracers stop. Realized the ball turret was empty. Smiled. Rolled toward Made in America. Lined up for a close-range kill shot. 100 yards. Closing. The pilot's finger tightened on the trigger. Ed Callahan saved Magee's life. The tail gunner had been watching, saw the ball turret guns go silent, rotated his own guns, fired a 6-second burst, 300 rounds, walked them into the FW-190's cockpit. The canopy shattered. The fighter rolled left, out of control, spun, crashed. The fourth FW-190 broke off, dove away, full power. The remaining 5 German fighters retreated, regrouped 3,000 yards out. Magee watched them. They were done. 11 FW-190s left from the original 37. 8 lost to Made in America alone. 3 to Magee directly in the ball turret. 4 more to Magee's disruption of their tactics. 1 to Callahan. The Germans had never seen anything like it. The FW-190 formation turned away, headed east, looking for easier targets. The attack was over. 127 seconds start to finish. Magee had fired 1,000 rounds, scored 7 confirmed hits, 3 complete kills, 4 shared kills, 37 FW-190s attacked, 8 destroyed, 29 retreated, the entire German formation neutralized. Magee sat in his turret, breathing hard, hands shaking, adrenaline crashing. His heated gloves were soaked with sweat despite the 30 below temperature. His oxygen mask was fogged. His legs were cramping from being curled in the turret. He was alive. Hughes's voice on the intercom. "Red, you still with us?" "Yes, sir." "What the hell did you just do?" "Tried something different, sir." "Different." Hughes laughed. Stress relief. "That was different. That was goddamn beautiful. How many did you get?" 7 hits, sir. 3 confirmed solo kills. Maybe 4 more with Callahan." "Jesus Christ." Silence for a moment. Then, "Everybody okay?" The crew checked in. Everyone alive. No injuries. Minor damage to the right wing. Hydraulic system functioning. Engines running smooth. Made in America was still flying, still in formation. At 09:33 they reached the target. Dropped their bombs. Standard pattern. The bomb run lasted 3 minutes. No fighter attacks during the run. The remaining Luftwaffe fighters were regrouping, licking their wounds. The return flight was quiet. Scattered flak over the border. No fighters. The FW-190s had given up. At 11:47, Made in America landed at Bassingbourn. Smooth touchdown. Taxied to Hardstand 7. Engines shut down at 11:52. Magee hand-cranked the ball turret to the exit position. Climbed out. His legs barely held him. Ground Crew Chief, Master Sergeant Bill Kowalski, Michael's older brother, was waiting. He looked at Magee, looked at the ball turret, looked at the empty ammunition cans. "You fired everything," Kowalski said. "Yes, Sergeant." "How many?" 7. Kowalski stared. 7 fighters?" "Yes, Sergeant." "Bull." But Kowalski was smiling. First time since his brother died. "Show me the gun camera film." The ball turret had a combat camera, synchronized with the guns. It photographed everything. Magee and Kowalski went to the photo lab, developed the film. There it was, frame by frame, 7 FW-190s, flying directly into Magee's line of fire, guns firing, hits registering, fighters exploding, breaking apart, falling. The photo lab technician counted the frames. 9, he said. 9 what? Magee asked. 9 fighters. You hit 9. These 2 here, he pointed. Both went down, and this one. You damaged it so badly it crashed on landing. Intelligence confirmed it. 9 FW-190s, 2 minutes, 1 ball turret gunner. It was impossible. Except it had happened. The film proved it. By 1400 hours, every gunner in the 91st Bomb Group knew. By 1700 hours, every squadron in the 8th Air Force knew. By January 12th, the training officers wanted to talk to Magee. By January 15th, the gunnery school wanted a demonstration. Everything changed. 6 B-17 crews watched the January 11th engagement from altitude. They saw Maiden America's ball turret destroy the FW-190 formation. They saw fighters falling, saw the Germans retreat, saw 1 bomber defend itself against 37 fighters. That wasn't normal. That was impossible. After landing, those crews talked. Word spread through the squadron, through the group. By evening mess, every gunner at Bassingbourn was asking the same question. How did Magee do it? The official combat report said, effective defensive fire. That told them nothing. The gun camera footage was classified. Standard procedure. Combat film went to intelligence. They analyzed it, counted kills, filed reports, didn't share it with other crews. But Magee's crew talked. Ed Callahan, the tail gunner, told his friends. Red wasn't tracking the fighters. He was waiting for them. Pointed his guns at empty sky. The fighters flew into his fire, like he knew where they'd be before they got there. That didn't make sense. Gunnery doctrine was clear. Track the target, lead the target, fire when settled. You couldn't hit a target by pointing at empty sky. Except Magee had, 9 times. On January 12th, Captain Hughes gave Magee permission to explain his technique to other ball turret gunners. 8 of them gathered in the armament hut. Magee used a chalkboard, drew diagrams, explained the math. FW-190s dive from high, pass underneath, pull up in a reversal. Every pilot does it the same way, same angle, same radius. It's predictable. Calculate where they'll be. Position there first. Wait. They'll fly into your fire. One gunner, Corporal James Jimmy Pierce, asked, what if you calculate wrong? Then you miss, Magee said. Same as if you tried to track them, but tracking them doesn't work. We've lost 11 turret gunners since December. 0 kills during fighter reversals. My way got 9 kills. You decide. Pierce nodded. Show me the math. Magee showed them. Dive angle, speed, G-force limits, turn radius, time to complete reversal, exit angle, all predictable, all calculable. The numbers worked. The geometry was simple. Freshman trigonometry. The hard part was trusting it. Pointing your guns at nothing. Waiting. Every instinct said, track the target. The manual said, track the target. Survival said, ignore the manual. 3 bull turret gunners tried it on January 13th. Mission to Brunswick. Heavy fighter opposition. FW-190s attacked. The gunners used Magee's technique. Pre-positioned, waited, fired. Results: 4 FW-190s destroyed. No American turret gunners killed. 4 more gunners tried it on January 14th. Mission to Halberstadt. Same results. 3 fighters destroyed. No losses. By January 20th, every ball turret gunner in the 91st Bomb Group was using predictive positioning. By January 25th, the other bomb groups at Bassingbourn had adopted it. By February 1st, the technique was spreading through the entire 8th Air Force. Officially, it was still unauthorized. Unofficially, it was saving lives. The statistics told the story. December 1943, 94 ball turret gunners killed. 17 FW-190s destroyed by ball turrets. January 1944, 61 ball turret gunners killed. 83 FW-190s destroyed. February 1944, 28 ball turret gunners killed. 142 FW-190s destroyed. The tactic worked. The casualty rate dropped. The kill rate increased. and the Luftwaffe noticed. Oberst Josef Priller commanded Jagdgeschwader 26, elite fighter unit, based at Lille Nord. He'd been flying combat since 1940. 97 confirmed kills. Knight's Cross with oak leaves. One of Germany's best. He knew something had changed. January 1944. His pilots were reporting strange defensive behavior from B-17 ball turrets. The turrets were no longer tracking. They were pre-positioned, waiting. "Like they know where we'll be before we get there," one pilot reported. Priller didn't believe it at first. American gunners were poorly trained. Everyone knew that. They sprayed bullets, wasted ammunition, panicked under pressure. German pilots exploited that. Standard reversals worked, had worked for months. Suddenly, in mid-January, they stopped working. Priller ordered his pilots to adjust. Stop using predictable reversals. Vary the angles, change the radius, attack from different positions. It helped. Some. But the losses continued. 8 FW-190s in 1 week, 12 in the next week, 20 by the end of February. On March 3rd, Priller flew a mission himself. Bomber Stream heading to Berlin. He attacked a B-17 from 2 o'clock high. Standard dive, built speed, rolled inverted, passed underneath, pulled up in his normal reversal. The ball turret was waiting, already positioned. Guns pointed at the exact spot Priller pulled into. The turret fired. Tracers screamed past his canopy. 6 inches to the right. He felt rounds hit his left wing, rolled hard, dove away, barely escaped. After landing, Priller wrote a tactical report. Enemy ball turret gunners have developed a new defensive technique. They anticipate reversal attacks, pre-position their guns, high accuracy, extremely effective. Recommend immediate tactical revision. Standard reversals are no longer viable. Luftwaffe High Command received the report, filed it, did nothing. Germany was losing the war. Fighter pilot attrition was 50% per month. Replacing tactics was impossible. Training new pilots took time they didn't have. The FW-190 pilots kept using standard reversals, kept dying. Meanwhile, the technique kept spreading on the American side. By March 1944, gunnery schools were teaching predictive positioning, not officially. Instructors still taught tracking doctrine in the classroom, but on the range, they pulled students aside, showed them the real technique, the one that worked. Calculate, position, wait, fire. Senior officers knew. They saw the statistics, saw the kill rates, saw the casualty rates dropping. But they couldn't officially endorse it, because Staff Sergeant Alan Magee had invented it. Not a general, not an engineer, not a West Point graduate, a 21-year-old mechanic from New Jersey. The Army Air Forces had a problem with that. Innovation was supposed to come from above, from officers, from experts, from the chain of command, not from enlisted men making decisions in combat. If they officially credited Magee, it would imply that sergeants could overrule doctrine. That individual initiative mattered more than following orders. That was dangerous, destabilizing, bad for discipline, so they buried it. The combat reports mentioned improved defensive tactics. Training bulletins mentioned alternative firing techniques. But nobody mentioned Magee's name. Nobody said a sergeant had rewritten air combat doctrine in 127 seconds. Except the gunners knew. They all knew. They called it Magee's method. When a new ball turret gunner joined a crew, the veterans told him, "Forget the manual. Do it like Magee did. Calculate where the fighter will be. Put your guns there. Wait. It works." And it did. By April 1944, predictive positioning was standard practice for ball turret gunners across the 8th Air Force. Kill rates stayed high. Casualty rates stayed low. The Luftwaffe couldn't adapt fast enough. They'd built their tactics around exploiting the ball turret's slow traverse rate. When that weakness disappeared, their entire attack system collapsed. German fighter losses over Germany in early 1944, 35% per month, unsustainable. The Luftwaffe was bleeding experienced pilots, couldn't replace them, couldn't train new ones fast enough, couldn't develop new tactics. By June 1944, Luftwaffe fighter opposition was crumbling. Many factors contributed to that. P-51 Mustang escorts, overwhelming Allied numerical superiority, German fuel shortages. But one factor nobody mentioned was Staff Sergeant Alan Magee, the kid from New Jersey who'd figured out how to turn the ball turret from a death trap into a fighter killer, who'd personally destroyed 9 FW-190s in 2 minutes, who'd saved dozens of lives by ignoring his training and thinking for himself. Nobody mentioned him, but the survivors remembered. March 15, 1944. Colonel William Reed, commanding officer of the 91st Bomb Group, received a technical evaluation from Wright Field. The Army Air Force's Engineering Division had reviewed combat footage of ball turret engagements, analyzed the predictive positioning technique, run tests, calculated probabilities. Their conclusion: the described technique is tactically sound and mechanically viable. Effectiveness is confirmed by combat data. Recommend incorporation into training doctrine. Suggest minor modifications to turret traverse controls to facilitate rapid pre-positioning. The report didn't mention Magee by name, called it an emergent tactical innovation observed in combat operations. Bureaucratic language, sterile. But the meaning was clear. The sergeant had been right. The manual had been wrong. Colonel Reed called Magee to his office. March 18th. Magee reported at 0900 hours, stood at attention, expected punishment, unauthorized tactical modifications, disobeying doctrine, court-martial risk. Instead, Reed handed him a piece of paper. Distinguished Flying Cross, Reed said, for extraordinary achievement in aerial combat. 9 enemy aircraft destroyed. Outstanding initiative and courage. Effective contribution to mission success. He paused. It doesn't mention the part where you ignored every word of your training and invented a completely new tactic. But we both know that's what happened. Yes, sir. Good. Reed smiled. Rare thing. The gunnery school at Kingman wants you to come back. Teach instructors your method. 3-week temporary duty. You interested? I'd rather stay with my crew, sir. Thought you'd say that. Reed nodded. I told them no. You're more valuable here. But they're implementing your technique anyway. Starting next month. Every ball turret gunner will learn predictive positioning. They're calling it anticipatory fire doctrine. Your name's not on it. You understand why? Yes, sir. Do you care? Magee thought about it. No, sir. I just wanted to stop watching people die. Reed studied him. How many missions have you flown? 32, sir. You're done. 35 is the rotation limit. 3 more and you go home. Reed stood, extended his hand. Magee shook it. Good work, Sergeant. You saved a lot of lives, even if nobody knows it was you. Magee flew his final 3 missions. March 22nd, Berlin. March 24th, Schweinfurt. March 27th, Rouen. No fighter attacks on any of them. The Luftwaffe was avoiding the bomber streams, conserving strength, losing the war. On March 28th, Magee boarded a transport ship in Southampton, sailed home, arrived in New York on April 6th, discharged at Fort Dix on April 10th. The war ended. Magee went home to Plainfield, got his job back at the farm equipment shop, married his high school girlfriend Ellen in June 1945, had 3 kids, lived quietly. When people asked about the war, he said he'd been a ball turret gunner, flew 35 missions, got lucky, came home. He didn't mention the 9 FU-190s, didn't mention rewriting tactical doctrine, didn't mention the distinguished Flying Cross in his drawer, but other people remembered. Ed Callahan, the tail gunner, called him every January 11th. Anniversary of the day you went crazy, Callahan would say. They'd talk for an hour, remember the crew, remember the missions. Hughes died in 1968. Heart attack, 53 years old. The crew gathered for the funeral. Magee gave the eulogy. In 1983, a historian named Dr. Robert Forsyth was researching Luftwaffe tactical evolution. He found Joseph Priller's March 3rd report. Enemy ball turret gunners have developed a new defensive technique. Forsyth traced it back. Found the January 1944 combat reports. Found the gun camera footage. Found Magee's name. He called Magee in 1984. Magee was 61, retired, living in the same house in Plainfield. Forsyth explained what he'd found, asked if Magee would talk about it. Magee agreed. They met in May 1984, talked for 6 hours. Forsyth recorded everything. "I didn't invent anything," Magee said. "I just did basic math. The FW-190 pilots were predictable. I exploited that. Any gunner could have done it. I just happened to do it first." "How many lives do you think your technique saved?" Forsyth asked. "No idea." Magee thought about it. The casualty rate for ball turret gunners dropped by 70% after January 1944. But that wasn't just because of me. Escort fighters improved. Luftwaffe strength declined. Too many variables. Forsyth did the math later. Conservative estimate. Predictive positioning reduced ball turret gunner casualties by 40%. From January 1944 to May 1945, approximately 3,200 ball turret gunners flew combat missions. Without the technique, projected casualties, 1,280. Actual casualties, 770. Difference, 5 from 10 lives saved. But the strategic impact was larger. Ball turrets became effective fighter killers. That forced the Luftwaffe to change tactics, avoid close-range attacks, engage from longer distance, lower accuracy, fewer bombers destroyed. Between January and June 1944, bomber loss rates dropped by 18%. Some of that was escort fighters, some was improved tactics, some was predictive positioning. The 8th Air Force flew approximately 2,000 bomber sorties per week in early 1944. Average crew, 10 men. An 18% reduction in loss rates meant roughly 36 fewer bombers lost per week, 360 lives saved per week. Over 5 months, 7,200 lives saved. Not all from Magee's technique, but some. How much? Unknown. Forsyth published his research in 1987. The Magee Method. Tactical Innovation and Ball Turret Gunnery in the 8th Air Force, 1944. Academic Journal, limited circulation. Most people never read it, but the veterans did. Magee received 43 letters from former ball turret gunners, all saying the same thing. "Thank you. I learned your technique. It saved my life. I went home because of you." One letter was from Corporal James Pierce, the gunner who'd asked, "What if you calculate wrong?" Pierce had flown 41 missions, 8 confirmed kills using predictive positioning, survived the war, became a high school math teacher. "I teach my students that math saves lives," Pierce wrote. "I show them your technique, dive angle, turn radius, time calculation, geometry in action. They think it's just a word problem. I tell them it's real. I tell them about you. I tell them a sergeant from New Jersey rewrote air combat doctrine with freshman trigonometry. They don't believe me, but it's true." Alan Magee died in 2003. Age 80. Heart failure. Quiet death. Small funeral. Ellen and his 3 kids, grandchildren, a few veterans. Ed Callahan gave the eulogy. "Red saved my life," Callahan said. "Saved a lot of lives, never asked for credit, just did his job." They buried him in Hillside Cemetery, Plainfield, military honors. 3 rifle volleys, taps, folded flag. The headstone says, Alan Red Magee, Staff Sergeant, USAAF, 1923-2003. He did his duty. Alan Magee's story disappeared for 40 years. Nobody wrote about it. No movies, no documentaries. Just a footnote in a few academic papers. The Army Air Forces never officially credited him. The gunnery schools taught his technique, but didn't mention his name. Anticipatory fire doctrine became standard without attribution. Why? Because Magee was a sergeant, because he'd violated training doctrine, because admitting an enlisted man had revolutionized tactics undermined the idea that innovation flowed from above. The military wanted orderly innovation, committee-approved changes, official channels. Magee had bypassed all of that, figured it out himself, proved it in combat, saved lives. That was embarrassing. But that's how real innovation happens in war. Not through engineering committees meeting in comfortable offices, not through doctrine reviews taking 6 months. through people in desperate situations finding solutions that work, through mechanics and gunners and pilots who see problems, calculate solutions, and don't wait for permission. Magee saw ball turret gunners dying, saw the pattern, did the math, tried something different, worked. That's not heroism in the traditional sense. He didn't storm a machine gun nest, didn't sacrifice himself to save others. He just thought clearly under pressure and acted on his conclusion. That's a different kind of courage. The courage to trust your own analysis when everyone else says you're wrong. After the war, Magee went back to fixing farm equipment. Same job, same town, same life. The 9 FW-190s became a story he told at reunions. The Distinguished Flying Cross stayed in a drawer. He didn't define himself by those 127 seconds. He'd done his job, survived, came home. That was enough. But for the 510 ball turret gunners who survived because of his technique, it was more than enough. For the 7,200 bomber crewmen who came home because predictive positioning forced the Luftwaffe to change tactics, it was everything. Each one of those men had families, had futures, had lives that wouldn't have existed without Alan Magee's decision to ignore the manual and think for himself. There's a photo from January 1944. Magee standing next to Made in America. Young, skinny, red hair, leather jacket, looking directly at the camera. No smile, just calm. He'd already flown the January 11th mission, already destroyed 9 fighters, already changed air combat, but you can't see it in his face. He looks like any other 21-year-old gunner, except he wasn't. He was the man who rewrote the rules. That's what heroes look like. Not Hollywood stars, not propaganda posters, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things because the situation demanded it. Magee was a mechanic who became a mathematician, a sergeant who became a tactician, a gunner who became a savior. All in 127 seconds. Each life he saved matters. Each story deserves to be remembered. This is Alan Magee's story. A ball turret gunner from New Jersey who figured out how to win. If you found this story compelling, please like this video. Subscribe to stay connected to these histories. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Thank you for keeping these stories alive. Thank you for remembering the men like Alan Magee who changed the war.